Ready? Evening. Today is Tuesday, February 4th. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heather, would you please take roll?
Councilmember Raditz.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith.
Here.
Councilmember Lasky.
Here.
Mayor Sullivan.
Here.
Councilmember Keck.
Here.
Councilmember Grabowski.
Here.
Councilmember Ruzga.
Here.
City Manager.
Here.
City Attorney.
Present on Zoom.
DPW Director.
Here.
Finance Director.
Here.
Community Development Director.
Here.
City Engineer.
Here.
Roll call complete.
Thank you. Citizens' comments on agenda-related items, limited to 5 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Margaret Botzer. I'm a longtime City of Manistee resident. And I also serve on the County Parks and Recreation Commission as vice chair. And I just wanted to make a couple observations and comment on the US 31 reconstruction and pedestrian access coming up on US 31 in the next couple of years. We really have a once-in-a-generation opportunity with the US 31 reconstruction to consider and improve access for non-motorized users. That includes pedestrians, cyclists. We have a lot of people in our community that's their primary mode of transportation. And currently, the US 31 corridor through the city of Manistee, unfortunately, is a really difficult passage for a lot of folks. You know, we can take a look, especially in the winter, you'll notice that there will be tracks of footprints along US 31. And this reconstruction project is a really wonderful opportunity for us as we move forward with this project to improve that access for both residents and visitors in Manistee. Currently, the city has adopted a complete streets resolution, which states that all street plans will include at a minimum accommodations for accessibility, sidewalks, curb ramps and cuts, signage, bike lanes, and shall incorporate principles of complete streets and maximize walkable and bikeable streets whenever feasible within the city of Manistee. So I commend you for the grant application that it's under consideration this evening, and am here to support that. And then also I'm here to support improved sidewalk access throughout the US 31 corridor in Manistee. Thank you.
Thank you. Consent agenda. All items marked with an asterisk are considered by the city manager to be routine matters. Prior to approval, any member of council may have an item removed and taken up during the regular portion of the meeting. Items include approval of minutes, cash balances, revenue and expenses, balance sheet, quarterly financial update, quarterly investment update, consideration of scheduling a public hearing for Manistee Downtown Development Authority, development and tax increment finance plan amendment, consideration of the 2025 Labor Fest event. At this time, council could take action to approve the consent agenda as presented. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Heather, would you please take roll?
Councilmember Raditz.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith.
Yes.
Councilmember Lasky.
Yes.
Mayor Sullivan.
Yes.
Councilmember Keck.
Yes.
Councilmember Grabowski.
Yes.
Councilmember Ruzga. Motion approved.
Thank you. Introduction of Carmen Cott, the new president and CEO of Manistee Area Chamber of Commerce.
Good evening, council members.
Good evening.
Hope everybody's having a great night. My name is Carmen Cott. I'm the president and CEO of the Manistee Area Chamber of Commerce. I am very excited to be in this role. Just wanted to have an opportunity to welcome to you all. You guys probably know me in my previous position as the operations manager. I've been with the chamber for the last 4 years, so it's understanding the dynamic and the ins and outs of the chamber world has been a natural fit for me to slide into this role. I am a resident of the Manistee area. I'm born and raised in Arcadia, moved away and then came back and lived in the city for about 7 years. And currently now I reside in Byler Township with my husband and my 2 daughters. So really just wanted to have an opportunity to say hello, and I'm really excited to work along with the city to have that relationship, to make sure that we're all working together to making sure that we're working together on the same objectives and having that really close relationship. So I'm looking forward to getting to know you all, and I hope that we have an opportunity to sit one-on-one to discuss how we can better advance Manistee. And so does anybody have any questions for me?
I think so. No. Congratulations.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you. I really appreciate the support, and everybody here in the room. It's been overwhelming. So again, really appreciate that, and looking forward to again collaborating with the city. So thank you very much, and have a great night.
Thank you. Consideration of supporting a transportation alternatives program grant by the Michigan Department of Transportation. The Michigan Department of Transportation, MDOT, is planning to reconstruct 4.7 miles of US 31 from M55 to Stronach Road. MDOT is preparing a transportation alternatives program grant submission to cover 80% of the cost related to items which provide safe, non-motorized transportation access for pedestrians and connections to adjacent communities. The city is requesting several pedestrian-friendly items to be added to this application. The city will be responsible for a 20% match for the city requested items in the amount of $141,762 and for future maintenance. At this time, council could take action to approve the resolution of support of the TAP implementation along US 31. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I will second that motion.
Any discussion?
Lucas from MDOT is here. If anyone has any questions, you can kind of give an up.
Anybody have any questions?
I guess I'd like to hear a brief description.
So our project that we're in the, just a kind of a, where we're at in the process. So we're working towards our first draft of plans, which is base plans. We should have those in the next week or so. It's kind of early on in the design. Our project includes full reconstruction, replacing all the existing sidewalk in full. We want to expand where we have the sidewalk, where we don't have it now in the city and into the townships. And so to help us do that, we're applying for a grant. And we're required to have, MDOT can't apply for the grant on our own. We have to have a partner agency. So we've asked the city to be our partner agency on that. So anything sidewalk, MDOT's gonna take care of the full match on that. The only thing we're looking to the city for is lighting. So MDOT, we're not allowed to pay for lighting, but we can include it in the grant application, so the grant can pay for 80% of it. And then if there's, I think the only other thing in there is just making kind of a connection with sidewalk outside of our main corridor. But so otherwise, the resolution just saying that you support the effort, that you'll pay 20% just for those, basically for lighting and things kind of outside of the primary sidewalk that we're going to take care of, and then maintenance. And then you maintain sidewalks now. MDOT doesn't maintain sidewalks anywhere, so there's no change there. Even with what we're building with the project, we'd be coming to you at the end, later on for an agreement, just to kind of extend the agreement that you have now to maintain that part of the.
Okay, thanks.
What about bike paths, like Margaret asked? Is there?
So we've started. We've had some stakeholder meetings, and we have more coming up here. We'll have more public meetings too after the base plans. We've identified a little bit of where we can make connections. One place we're looking at is over by Burger King, trying to connect back there. There's some places where we'll include that where we can.
Good.
So yeah.
Okay, what is this, says the city's responsible for 20% match for future maintenance. What are we looking at on this 141,000?
So that's, if you look at the estimate, I think that's the majority of that is for the lighting, pedestrian safety lighting.
So those are the Acorn Washington lights, so similar to what we have on River Street, so kind of the double light, looking to bring that from First Street to north of the bridge. So it's kind of a better, it'll light the roadway and also the sidewalk and
Okay.
kind of keep that same look as River Street. We also do have vegetation on here for plantings, but I think that's something we're working with MDOT. Potentially, there's a cost share with that. So this is kind of I think when talking with Jeff, we looked at a worst-case scenario, but as I said, it's an the grant would cover 80%, we would cover 20%, so.
Are there gonna be trees planted? Because I know during one of the meetings I've been at, they asked about trees.
So if the city wants trees, we'll plant those with our project. We would pay for the, like just trees along the corridor. That would be something that we would pay for the installation of. But that would be one of the things that the city would then take maintenance on. So the city would take maintenance on sidewalk, plantings, so anything special. Like we'll come in, when we're doing an R&R job like this, we'll put the plantings out there, but then we don't take maintenance responsibilities for them. So it's like I said, just like sidewalk. So be sidewalk, plantings, and lighting, I think are the only things that we look in
And with
to you guys for maintenance.
the plantings, we weren't looking at trees necessarily there. It was more a flowering native plant and then maybe some dune grass and so that was mainly the concept, not trees so much.
Now, are they gonna affect when the people plant the flowers along their bill?
So it's going to be a different project because it'll be a bigger green space once this project is complete. So, and I think I mentioned in a weekly update, the Blossom Boulevard, we're looking at the NRBC if they'd like to take on that project, but currently that project's in flux right now. So this would be kind of planning for the future as well. And I think we're still kind of figuring out how that's going to play out.
And MDOT's perspective, we'll put there what the city wants. So we'll be working with the city.
I think in that proposal, you said native plants and perennials. And I think I wouldn't mind seeing that on the Blossom Boulevard. That's a great idea along the highway.
Yeah.
To have perennials, so you don't keep
Yeah,
planting them.
so we're super early in the design. So we'll work with you all to put in there what you want. Basically, MDOT doesn't want to, we won't be dictating that kind of a thing, so.
Well, seems like an 80% paid for with planting, safe access, and 20% for the city. And we already maintain the current sidewalks and the current lighting. So having something that fits with our the acorn lighting, so there's continuity. So it's pleasing, it's safe. Having a rain garden planting so that we're not having that in the winter, lots of water on the roads. It's really exciting. So thank you for bringing this forward.
Yeah, it's going to be a great project, so.
Like you said, once in a generation.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And for $700,000 down to $140,000, that's our responsibility. I really appreciate this opportunity to partner in a grant.
And then for us, in addition to that, the parts that we're asking for and that we're providing match for is at least that much, probably more than that, in the city. Another thing to note is the application that we're putting in includes the city and the township, so the full length of our project. And so we have a very similar resolution that the townships have passed, so they'll be responsible for the maintenance, and if they want lighting in the townships, they have the same responsibility that.
Yeah, we're a tourist attraction, and having our corridors look pleasing and safe for people to not just stay in one area of the 31 corridor, but to be able to travel and have it look pleasing it's
it'll be
transformational.
It will be, yeah. These are fun ones for me because it's just a big difference from when we start to when we get done. So.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you. No. Heather, would you please take roll?
Councilmember Raditz.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith.
Yes.
Councilmember Lasky.
Yes.
Mayor Sullivan.
Yes.
Councilmember Keck.
Yes.
Councilmember Grabowski.
Yes.
Councilmember Ruzga.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. Consideration of awarding a contract to construct a water main loop on Spruce Street, a relief sewer on First Street, and various overlays. 3 projects were designed and bid out as a package to achieve economies of scale. 3 bids were received as follows. Swiderski, $362,134. Reith Riley, $421,, $384.96. Halleck Contracting, $419,768 and $50. Engineer's estimate was $461,478.50. The current fiscal year budget includes $395,000 from various funds to complete the project, including engineering. At this time, council could take action to approve the 362-134 contract with the lower bid, Swiderski Brothers Excavating, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute the documents. Is there a motion?
I make the motion.
I'm sorry, did somebody second?
Second.
Okay.
Jim did.
Any discussion?
Yeah, what is on the, it says relief sewer on First Street and various overlays. What are the overlays?
I don't have the list before me, but last spring and even the fall before, we took a ride around the community, and this is kind of interesting because we just did our state of the streets, right? So this is kind of the follow-up to that. But I took a ride around the community, and I looked at streets that really don't seem to have an opportunity to get into that next 5 to 10 year transportation improvement plan, but they're in horrible condition. And so what we did is inserted into the budget last year $120,000 to just put an overlay over those roads, give them at least a fresh surface, and get them out another 10, 15, maybe even 20 years until there's enough money to fully reconstruct those. Some examples of that would be like 6th Avenue by Century Terrace, Grove Street. If you've driven down Grove Street, it's almost gravel. But I think there was 26 different segments. And this may not be a whole street. This may be a half a block, it may be a block. But really, it's putting some big patches on some areas where we just don't have the money and we don't foresee being able to do anything for a while. The plan was to split that list into two, and then divide that over 2 fiscal years. So we had 120,000 budgeted in the current budget, and I anticipate requesting another 120,000 in the next budget. And so this is actually opposite of the asset management, but it's kind of out of respect for the citizens that live on some of those streets that just so bad we need to do something.
Okay, because I know Fourth Street there, some of them are right down to the brick and the dirt.
Yeah, and 4th Street is actually in the Transportation Improvement Program, and it's combined with the Capital Improvement Program. We've got some undersized water main on that, so I don't remember the year, but we'll be talking about that shortly in the budget. But that's within within the 4-year horizon right now. So that one wouldn't be included because we do have some plans and are trying to budget money to get that fully rebuilt.
I thought up on Spruce Street that we had put in a loop up on the top when that went out.
Yeah, there was, it was looped. So going up that hill, there was a water main that went from 2nd Street to 4th Street up that hill. 2 summers ago, we had a pretty severe water main break. We were able to stop the water, but we spent probably 3 days. And every time we would put a repair on that pipe, we were cutting sections out, putting repair clamps in, putting a new piece in. And the pipes, when we would try to put the fixtures on them, the pipe would crush. And what we found out is that something was actually eating away at the metal, and it was extracting the iron out of that pipe. So we talked to some of the experts in Spicer, and they believe that there was something in that soil that was interacting with the metal and creating corrosion at a much faster rate than you normally would see. So we looked at the water models, and we looked at being able to just cut that pipe out and kind of dead end that portion of the loop. And we ensured that there was fire flow sufficient enough at the top of the hill and at the bottom of the hill. However, there's a house about mid-hill that's still affected. And so the pipe ends right at their house, and we retap their service, and then we have them running water so that they have fresh water, because you've got a long section of 8-inch main that we don't want it to go stagnant. And then our staff has been testing that water at least a couple times a year to make sure it's safe. And then we heard from council that, okay, so you've solved that, but that road got water underneath it, it rippled the pavement, and it's bumpy, and we don't like it, and you need to fix it. So then we went back and said, okay, if we're gonna fix the road, what's the ultimate fix on the water? And up above the hill on 3rd Street, there's a dead end. So what we've designed is a pipe to take that dead end down Third Street and reconnect to where that house ties in, and so we can loop that water. We can, I mean, we don't need it for the fire suppression, but it will assist in that. And then what we intend to do is put PVC pipe, it's called C900, and we'll put PVC pipe in there so that we don't have any of that soil reactions to that pipe in the future. And then we'll mill off the entire surface of that, or the top layer of asphalt, and then repave that back.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else have any more questions? Thanks, Jeff. Heather, would you please take roll?
Councilmember Raddatz.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith.
Yes.
Councilmember Lasky.
Yes.
Mayor Sullivan.
Yes.
Councilmember Keck.
Yes.
Councilmember Grabowski.
Yes.
Councilmember Ruzga.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. Consideration of applications to boards and commissions. The city clerk has taken action to advertise vacancies on the Board of Review, Compensation Commission, and the Historic District Commission. Nominations for council appointments do not require a second. After all nominations are made, council votes on the nominees until one nominee receives the majority support. The following applications have been received. The Historic District Commission, 3 vacancies, 1 term ending 2/28/27 and 2 terms ending 2/28/28. Purpose, Historic Preservation, a City Council appointment. Ed Kriskowitz, 387 River Street. At this time, council could take action to make an appointment as noted. If you make a nomination, please just, when we do roll call, the last name of the nominee. Is there a nomination?
I will nominate Ed Kriskowitz for the term ending 2/28/28.
Heather, would you please take roll?
Councilmember Raddatz.
Kriskowitz.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith.
Yep, Kriskowitz.
Councilmember Lasky.
Kriskowitz.
Mayor Sullivan.
Kriskowitz.
Councilmember Keck.
Kriskowitz.
Councilmember Grabowski.
Kristowitz.
Councilmember Ruzga.
Kriskowitz.
Nomination has been approved for Kriskowitz.
Now we will have a report from the NRBC Neighborhood Restoration and Beautification Commission. This-
Yeah, I'm not Sarah Harless.
I know.
All right. All set? All right. Good evening, council. My name is Lucas Richardson, if you don't know me by now. I'm here to give the NRBC Annual Report, or Neighborhood Restoration and Beautification Commission. We'll start with our current membership for the NRBC. Consists of Chief of Police Josh Glass. Our chair currently is Sarah Harless. She couldn't make it tonight. She had some prior commitments, as well as I was the chair up until this last meeting. So I'm going to give the presentation. Vice Chair was Mary Kay Wilkosh, but she just recently resigned from her position, so we're working with Heather to advertise for that vacancy. Our secretary is Kayla Willem. Liz Lasky is our most recent member. Kathleen Grabowski, Jess Stallings, and myself. The purpose statement of the commission is to identify, research, and recommend opportunities and resources to help prevent, remediate, and eliminate blight and help beautify the city of Manistee. Some of the main summary items from our ordinance and bylaws is to identify and implement strategies related to restoration and beautification of the neighborhoods, recommending activities, programs, policies, fees, funding sources relevant to the restoration and beautification, organizing a community service day at least once annually, and also to maintain a list of volunteers for any cleanup, restoration, beautification projects that we try to help the city with. Some accomplishments in 2024. Most recently, we assisted the city in planning with reviewing some chill grant applications. We also continue to try to build on our volunteer list. That seems to be a ever struggle. But we did have a booth at that Kids Safety Day, which got us our name out there a little bit, and I think helped. As well as I think our biggest event so far for the commission, which is only, almost 3 years old, was the spring cleanup event that was organized between our commission and the city DPW for the annual recycling event and the cleanup event. As you can see on that photo on the bottom left, which is really interesting, in my opinion, that one person, that one resident made that event a success, because every single one of those mattresses and tires that are in that trailer and truck were in that gentleman's yard. So this event was, an opportunity for that person to get rid of that blight and help them clean up a little bit. And that was just one resident. We had, I think, over 100 people that showed up, which was amazing, and filled, I think, half a truck for tires, I think. So that was great. And we're looking forward to continuing that. Another accomplishment that the NRBC helped with the city was planting the vegetation in front of the 2 city entrance signs, and then working with DPW on, maintaining the vegetation there. We're kind of new. It's a new thing, so we got to try to figure out how we keep that nice and clean, because that was only a couple months right there of overgrowth that took a lot of time to weed. Some goals for the NRBC in 2025. Before the meeting tonight, I gave you a list, and I don't expect you to have any recommendations right now or comments on it, but one thing that the NRBC would be looking for is any input that you have from that recommendation list, because we'd like to have support and try to work with the city and other commissions on implementing some of that. And ironically, it was already brought up today, but one of the items was the commission thought it would be really nice to plant trees along the US 31 corridor, just because it's the entrance, it's our gateway to the city, and sometimes it isn't the prettiest, so we want to try to beautify that a little bit. Another item another goal for 2025 is to try to improve on that spring cleanup day. We've talked about having multiple cleanups throughout the year. We just got to organize that a little bit and try to increase the participation for that event. 100 or so residents was great, but how do we get 500 residents there, And then another discussion piece with the spring cleanup days has been, how do we get the residents that have the junk blight in their yard that don't have a mode of transportation to get to that spring cleanup day? And that continues to be kind of a discussion that we can't really figure out right now, but we're working towards finding a solution there. And then finally, rolling out the city banner project. So last year, City Council delegated enough funds for us to purchase actually the plants for the entrance signs, as well as the city banner. We had, I think, over a dozen banners that we have right now in the police department that we're waiting to put up. We're working on pricing for this fiscal year to maybe get some more banners, so that way we can kind of roll out double the amount at the same time sometime this year. And we also hope to incorporate maybe some fire department banners as well as some DPW banners, just because we have right now some entryway ones that are the green on the top right there, and then some police department ones that we plan to put around some of the poles around City Hall here. So some factors that will continue the success for the NRBC is definitely continued support from the city council, city staff, input from the community. I think one of the big things that we need to work towards is actually advertising who we are to the community, because there's probably not a whole lot of people who know who we are, and we've tried different avenues there as well, but it's a work in progress. Some collaboration between the commissions and volunteer organizations is always going to promote our success as well, and then identifying applicable funding sources, just like the Chill Grant for blight remediation and home repairs. So with that, I'll end the presentation with any questions.
But I got a few statements to make. You knew I would. I don't like the thing where people discuss about going in people's yards. I don't think that the city's obligation to go in your yard to clean up your mess. I mean, if they can't get it to, we had dumpsters out last year, at Lincoln School, and the people didn't even bring the stuff. I mean, they would walk away and didn't bring it. I mean, come on, let's get off our back ends and do something. The next thing was, that was two things. The mattress and that at the Armory was a pigsty. I mean, they were really filthy. And I mean, some of the guys threw up on it, that it was so bad. And they treated some of the workers terrible. They said a lot of things you don't want to hear. And so, it's a good thing I didn't go up with the car, because I'd have told them where to go. It's, you know, these people are volunteering their time, and there's no reason why you have to treat them like that. So it was, I mean, the guys did a good job of getting those tires in the trailers, because some of them were pretty big and heavy. So it was, they did a good job, and they had, I think, a truck and a half of filled up, and the mattresses were popping out on us, and it was quite a deal down there.
Right, that event definitely would not have gone as well if we didn't have.
But I mean, it was, you know,
workers there.
as good as you could for the first year, but they did good. And I have to give the city crew a really good, they did a good job.
Agreed.
So I thank you.
Did you have something, Kay?
No, I'm good.
Thank you, Lucas.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Ed Bradford on the budget priorities.
Thank you. Okay. I want to thank all the council members for providing their budget priorities. Mr. Bradford and Kelly and I kind of did a consolidation of summarizing some of the items. We weighted kind of the first priority for each council member as 3 points. Okay. And then, so the thought was, you know, we could categorize them, the responses, and I kind of hide which council member, this is in no particular order, but kind of the priority, the notes is kind of the additional kind of statement with the priority. So my thought was I just wanted to kind of show the council members what was kind of provided and the summary sheet. And so public safety, fire, and there were some comments, you know, about, you know, keep up with the war on drugs and kind of making sure that we keep attacking that, as well as there are issues about, you know, housing being a priority. I think the last budget, you know, appreciate the community development department and their work on the chill grant. I think that's been a great thing. City services was kind of mentioned, but and then the Lions Pavilion bathroom was kind of brought up by a couple council members. Blight, it's always an issue, roads, and then also maintaining the partnerships. So I think what I'd like to do, if council's agreeable, I'd like to have each council member just kind of, you don't have to mention which ones were yours, but maybe just kind of talk about your thought process when looking at what you'd like to see the budget reflect, or what you'd like staff to focus on. And I'd like to just kind of go down and give each member some time to talk to staff and the other council members, if that's okay. So maybe start with Councilmember Raddatz. Sorry to put you on the spot.
No,
but, yeah.
you sit in this seat, you get to go first all the time. The opposite of my entire childhood right now. I thank you for putting this together so that we can get a sense for who we are as a council. I think it's showing that we have a lot of shared priorities, and there's some singletons towards the bottom, so I'm interested in the thinking on that. I don't think there's anything on here that anyone would say is not important to our city residents. I'm in agreement with that public safety and fire. There's been a lot of iterations of what that looks like in the city of Manistee over the years. And I mean, we're not the only place in Michigan that sometimes triples its inhabitants in the summertime. it's hard to staff that and be able to size appropriately. I'm grateful to hear about some of the overtime that was happening, and our staffing levels are much more sustainable, but very interested in keeping our inhabitants safe, making sure that we're adequately staffed for year-round, not just winter months. And definitely roads, housing, and maintaining services are there as the next most important priority. And the bathrooms, not as well known to me. I travel with very small people, and we normally keep track of how close or how far away we are from facilities, but I understand that we need to upgrade our services so that we can be accessible for all people. I don't really have any questions, just a lot of gratitude for the work of the people that are sitting here with me, that we already see and hold our future pretty closely.
Thank you.
Great.
Tough to beat that.
Oh, just wait.
You should have went last.
You know, I look at this as my second year of doing this, and I look at this as more of a kind of an overview of a capital improvement plan.
Okay.
To where, which,
Yeah.
this is just, you know, public safety and fire, last year we had, I think the fire truck, I think was something.
Yes.
And so I look at, when this list comes out, it's something that is desperately needed and in the budget, or just it's kind of waiting in the wings. You know, public safety and fire, that's a give me. You have to have that. You know, I was one that said, let's start thinking about some sort of facility at the Lions Pavilion. We're talking about improving the parks. We're talking about improving the band shell down there. It's something I'd like to have that in conversation. And again, is that something to beat out a fire truck or a new DPW truck or another officer? Absolutely not. But it's something that I think should be in the budget discussion. You know, roads are at the bottom. But we talk to the citizens driving around. That's the first thing. What's going on with these roads? So I think it's a little bit remiss. You know, I know what it's going to take to get us up to that PACER rating. We've had the presentation. I've had it twice. And I'm not saying that's an easy fix, but that's something that the community keeps talking about. I mean, the roads are huge. But besides that, absolutely housing, yes, it's a great list, and it just kind of depends on where you're attacking it from and what perspective you're coming from. But I agree, it's I like it.
I think services, and I think that the services to just the general taxpayers, we're paying, I mentioned it, like 42 mills, and we're 6,000 people. Our county is close to 26,000. These 6,000 people, our tax dollars are providing to 26,000, and we had the presentation last meeting of the Ramsdell. It's called the Regional Ramsdell, Manistee, or Ramsdell Regional Arts Center. And the city owns the building, but we provide, when we go there as city residents, although we're paying twice as many mills as someone living in Filer or Manistee Township, we don't get a discount on that ticket. So I think we can't forget the people and providing the services that the people use, and we do a good job of that, but that's the parks. We're providing the parks for the whole county, for tourists, for everybody else. And it's just the number of people that currently live here that are doing that and are paying the higher taxes. We provide the boat launches. Our boat launch pass is the same for someone who lives in Detroit, but yet we're maintaining that. It's like the presentation today, the MDOT. The grant's good, we're going to give the money, but the maintenance forever is on us and on our tax dollars. So I think services, I don't want to see the services diminish to the local people, but I would like to see some help by other entities towards these services, because we seem to be maintaining an awful lot for a lot of people. And the roads, of course, and I know that there's a capital improvement plan, and the number thrown out there was 66 million, but we have to put money into these roads, because they just seem to go further and further behind if we don't. And then the last thing that was safety, and like it or not, we do have a drug problem. They're doing a job, came to light with the 10, I mean, that was a really bad week, but when we had the murder, and then we had, I came home, and there was 3 ambulances, which I didn't know we even had that many available at one time in the city. They were down, all surrounded by one place, and then later in the week, we had that drug, which was good, the drug bust. But then they had that altercation in Ludington, and I thought, well, good, they got some bad press. And then when you read the article, it was 3 out of the 4 from Manistee. So I think we have to look, what path do we want us to take down the road? When we're looking to things, we've got to focus on our safety and do the best we can for that. So those are my 3 things. Thanks.
Yeah, I agree with everything they just said. I have a question because I am 100% agree on everything on here. The public safety and the fire, we pulled that from the last, I don't even know who I'm supposed to ask, pulled that from the last budget. And I was under the impression that it was to have surrounding counties pitch in for the fire and the safety.
The fire district, yeah.
Okay, so wouldn't it be, hold on, you switched this on me.
Sorry, and I did change that, but yeah, I think we were trying to summarize it, but you're right, it was,
Okay, so
some people
then
mentioned fire
that
district.
would be under services, and then fire
could
and
be.
safety, they would all be combined, so it would change that number, right?
Yes,
And
and I appreciate,
partnerships, because I
yeah,
don't,
we could categorize it as that, so.
so then that would catapult that up to number 1 with all of the way that you numbered it.
Yes, that would get 3 points if we looked at fire district as partnerships. Yeah, that would get, so that would change that to.
Okay. That was the only thing that I was concerned about, and I still feel like we need to figure out how to put a restroom down at the Lions Pavilion, because there's so many people that use that down there, and it's disgusting to have a big bright orange porta potty sitting there.
In front of a mud puddle.
It's great.
Yeah, that's all I have. I don't want to say the same thing everybody else
Okay.
just did.
As a newbie, I wasn't 100% sure of my goals here yet. I even emailed Bill and said, these are my thoughts, but those things could change as I develop and learn and grow. I find it interesting, some of the points that people have made, because it makes me think a little differently. I don't know that I would change any of my options. Public safety is huge for me, in my opinion. They've done a beautiful job with a lot of the things that has been going on in this town. The murders, and, all you read and hear is how efficient everything was. We have 4 beautiful seasons here, some busier than others, but they always seem to step up to the plate. They're able to, do crowd control and have everything under control there. So, and of course, housing is huge. Housing is huge right now, and I think we need to really put some efforts into that and how we're going to resolve those. But like I say, otherwise, those are my thoughts, and will probably change and grow as I do in this role.
Thank you.
Good. Okay, well, I think everybody knows my thoughts. I give you that on police and fire. Years ago, we talked about this. I was on 51 years on police departments. I worked for 4 different departments as I worked for other departments. And I fought fires with these guys. So I know what it is to fight a fire in wintertime, put your hands into frozen gloves. And nobody realizes what it's like to be in there until you have to do it. I give these guys a lot of credit. The police, I've been on stakeouts with them. I had suicides one year for a month. Every month I had a suicide. You don't know what we have to look at. So I put a lot of pressure on these guys. They do a good job. My second issue has always been blight. That's a big issue with me because I used to enforce that. I'd ride around the blocks, every block, and work on and go to the houses and get people to clean up and that. And it's a job because a lot of people don't want to do it. And I know Toby that enforces it now has already given out, I think, 38 tickets or something to try to get these people to clean up. So it's a mess, and that's, I give credit for the NRBC for putting the trailers down at First Street and the city guys working it, and it takes a lot because people are nasty to you, like I just told you. So in housing, I was just at a housing event with the governor and assistant governor and all that, and Carmen was there, and it was quite interesting to see what we are lacking and what we need and all that. So it's been, these are my 3 issues right now, so I appreciate you, Bill, bringing this up.
Thank you.
So when I was tasked with this, it was like, well, you know, they're all important. It was like trying to pick out a favorite child. You know, I have to say, I really like, you know, running water, my roads plowed. It's a lot of things under services that we don't consider till we don't have it. So, you know, to me, that's, you know, the fact that you can go to the fire hydrant to put out a fire, you know, that's all part and parcel of that in my mind. And public safety and fire, you know, they don't just do public safety and fire. They do a lot of other things for the community. You know, the fire does the EMT, and, you know, the police are always chipping in with assisting at events and everything else. So that's all appreciated. One of the things that, you know, blight was another thing, especially in my district, so that's a high concern for me because I'm biased for that district. And, but it surprised me on this where roads ended up, because I think last year it was much higher. So I don't know if that means we gave up or we're doing a better job. I'm not sure how to take that. And, but I guess it was hard to come up with 3 top priorities, I can say that.
Thank you. I appreciate the reaction. I realized I just wanted council to take a look at how this played out, and I think having that roads presentation, probably a 30-minute presentation, probably led to some of this, but I think it's important to see the aggregate of how it played out, and I think if there are miscategorizations, I'll send this out too, and if anyone has some thoughts on the overall, we can incorporate that. So just, I'll send it this Friday, and then any comments, we can revisit this, but this does give us at least something to kind of work with, and if you felt some more explanation, or I know there's a lot of new council members, so I just wanted to kind of see where the priorities lie with this, with the city council. In terms of next steps, I think the departments are starting to work on the budget, and they'll take a look at this. I did get some requests from council members about perhaps a monthly financial statement walkthrough or discussion of last year's budget. So we can look at that. So we'll see if.
Blake?
Oh, sorry.
I don't know if he's muted or not.
I don't think it's Blake.
I don't think it's him. I think it was the gentleman that just walked out.
Oh, okay.
Because Blake's muted.
Okay, sorry.
So I'll send that as well. If I know there's, like I said, there's some new council members, so I just want to give the opportunity to have discussion about whatever topics they'd like about the budget while we could work through this the next couple months.
Is this council feedback used as some sort of multiplier, or is it just something that, as you work through the budget process, you refer to anecdotally?
I think it helps provide some direction to staff. But yeah, I think we do kind of have, some history with the past budgets and the narrative, and then each of these items have kind of evolved. I mean, roads there's a large story with that. And I do think it's kind of part of the picture about how we spend our limited resources. And so we'll kind of talk about some things we're looking at to address each of these with this current budget is the plan.
So it's not like there's a budgeting process and you take these percentages and it's tabulated. It's more held as another piece of information to help inform the allocation. Thanks,
Yes.
I
Ed.
think that's accurate, Councilmember
Okay.
Rabbits, but some, if not most of these, will also probably have it towards the front part of the budget,
Okay.
something we call an issue page, where it's up front, it's kind of separate from the, reams of numbers towards the back of the budget, but it kind of talks through these issues and talks about what the budget is doing, what we have been doing, and what that looks like. So I think that's where this is real helpful.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anybody else? Citizens' comment. This is an opportunity for citizens in attendance to comment on municipal services, activities, or other areas of city involvement. Limited to 5 minutes. Letters submitted to council will not be publicly read.
Good evening. I am Karen Mao, Chair of the City of Manistee Parks Commission. I know most of you, but a couple. I just wanted to introduce myself. I haven't met a couple of you, and I wanted to take the opportunity to invite you to an event that we're having at our next Parks Commission meeting. It'll be on February 20th at technically 6 p.m. is the event with Mark Fetter. He will be presenting about the history of the city marina as well as the entire west end of River Street. He's always interesting, informative, and if that doesn't get you, we're going to have snacks. So can I approach and
Absolutely.
hand that?
Where did you say that was at?
Oh, sorry, it's at the city marina. It's Thursday, February 20th at 6 p.m. We'll have a short meeting at 5:30 just to kind of do community feedback if there is any, and introduce Mark, and then we're just going to let him do his thing, and I hope that all of you come.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Hello again. Margaret Botzer, and I didn't want to bring this up earlier because it wasn't agenda related. So a couple of things, as we're discussing services, I think one of the things that is a huge issue in the city of Manistee right now is the state of the recycling program, or frankly, the lack thereof. Since Manistee Catholic Central closed back in May, really the access has been limited to none for paper recycling in the city. I know the city's made an effort to try to get that trailer out there for 3 hours once a week, but to go from having 24/7 access to paper recycling in the city to a handful of hours a week when honestly a lot of our folks are working or have other family obligations during that time, and then now to twice a month starting in February is really not adequate. In the past, just for a little bit of history for those of you who aren't familiar with it, in the past, the city had a couple of dumpsters that were in the recycling center that were for mixed paper and cardboard. Probably a lot of you remember that. And then I think it was right before the pandemic, Manistee Catholic Central had already operated that PCA trailer at the school, which was a fundraiser for them. And they had volunteered to take that on for the entire city. And then I think at the time it saved the city about $20,000 a year, if I remember the number correctly. So while that was a great idea in theory, the problem is right now our city residents really don't have a lot of place to go. For myself as a city resident, it took me 10 minutes and more than 6 miles in each direction to drive down to
The dump.
Yes, thank you, to the dump, to Republic Services. And, that's only from 8:30 to 4:30. Again, especially for a lot of our working families or people who do not have as much, lack access to transportation, that's a huge inconvenience for them. When people are doing their other errands in town, we have, as one of our members stated earlier, one of the members of council, we have 6,000 residents in the city of Manistee. That's a huge percentage of the population. And, while the schools operate the other recycling trailers at the other sites, that is really for cardboard only. And so really since May of last year, our city residents no longer have an essential city service, a recycling program, which we've had for well over 20 years. So I've spoken with a couple of members of council about this in the past. a couple of options to consider. One would be, at least on an interim basis, I know there's been some discussion about having curbside recycling implemented. That's not even going to be for a few months. Right now, a lot of our residents just have so much paper piled up at home because people who recycle, they continue to recycle and they will find a place to do it. One option would be to talk with Republic, see if we can get some dumpsters available at the current recycling site on a short-term basis. When I have been down to the current recycling site for plastics and metal right now, I am seeing piles and piles and piles of paper in there. So that's a problem when that then goes to Republic, which I assume then goes up to the MRF in Traverse City. I don't know where that one goes from Republic, but you know, that's a problem for them too, and then they end up with problems with the load. Second option, Manistee County has very successfully operated a countywide recycling opt-in program that's associated with PA 69. I served on the Manistee County Green Team for 8 years. I'm really familiar with their program. That program operates very effectively and successfully. So even if it were a temporary agreement to participate in that program, that would provide access to that recycling program for our city residents, even if it's just an interim solution. And I think really what we're looking at is an interim solution here. And provide that access where, you know, they could also take their glass through GFL along with the paper and that sort of thing. Additional options, and I know again this has had quite a bit of discussion, is to continue to work with PCA. I know that has to be a school-operated program, which is part of the issue, and then, you know, again, it's volunteer-based for something that's essentially a city service. So that would be another potential option. I know you can certainly reach out to folks at the county if you're interested in the PA 69 option. And then, you know, I don't know where it is with Republic Services, but that's something that I hear people on a daily basis throughout the community complaining about is the recycling. So it's something that really needs to be high on the list for City Council to address and find a good solution. The second item also regarding...
I got to cut you off because your
Sure.
5 minutes is...
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Meg.
Anybody else?
Hello again, Council. As to requiring identification in order to dispose of our paper and cardboard in a responsible manner, I have to assume you guys are going to accept the city attorney's opinion on that. I disagree. I've had a couple of queries out to legal entities that I have not received an answer to. So either I am just completely wrong on this, which I have been before and I will be again, or this just wasn't big enough potatoes for them to deal with. So for now, I yield. As to the immigration issue, the insanity has begun. 1,500 adjudicated criminals have recently been released into our communities, over 600 of which are violent criminals. The vast majority of immigrants are not criminals. In the recent widely broadcast move against immigrants in Chicago, 48%, nearly half, had no criminal record, but they were taken away nonetheless. They are going after working families. Families that come here seeking a better life for their children and themselves, just as most of our ancestors had, and whose children fear that their parents will be taken away again. There are still over 1,000 children from last time that will probably never be reunited with their parents, and it's happening again. I ask you to take a public stand against this cruelty. I ask you to take a stand for respect. I ask you to take a stand for sympathy, a stand for empathy. Take a moment and picture this happening to your children or your grandchildren. Can you feel their misery? Their fear, their terror? They're being hunted by men with guns. It's a matter of what our principles are. Are we willing to stand up for decency? It's come to my attention that there may be commissioners that think this is a political issue. Some have made it a political issue, but it is not, nor does it need to be. This is a human issue. Independent of our political leanings, this should concern us all. I implore you to have the courage to take a stand against this cruelty. Our children and grandchildren learn by our example. Again, it's a matter of what our principles are. This treatment is just inhumane. Our immigrant neighbors are frightened now, terrified, and at risk of losing everything. In the case of those seeking refugee status, possibly even their lives, if they are sent back to their countries. Are we okay with this? Now that our new Department of Justice has issued a memo threatening officials who block president's immigration policies with prosecution, I won't ask you to go that far, although I was headed in that direction. It is interesting, however, to know that the state and local police cannot be forced to assist the federal agencies in this effort. Now, there's something to ponder if you have anything to say about how the police act. But are we going to justify and condone this cruelty by our silence? And cruelty is the point. It's meant to terrorize. How much do we care? Are we comfortable with the terrorization of non-white immigrants and refugees in their communities? I sure hope not. How many times must a man look up before he can see the sky? How many ears must man have before he can hear people cry? I think you've probably all heard this before. How many deaths will it take till he knows too many people have died? The answer, presently, blowing in the wind. I have to ask myself how all this can happen without an appropriate response. I ask you to respond. At a minimum, I ask our city government, by resolution or whatever means, to address the plight of our non-white immigrant and refugee neighbors and express your non-agreement with their indiscriminate, inhumane, forced extraction from our communities. We need to show some courage. We need to stand up. We need to speak up. This is offensive, this is un-American, and this is shameful.
Sir, your 5 minutes is up. Your 5 minutes
Two
is up.
sentences.
Sir.
I truly relish the right to speak up at a city council meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Mike Herbert. I live in Manistee, and I approve of this message.
Anybody else?
Hello, got my voice back finally. I can talk. My name is David Gramza. I'm on a corner of 4th and Hancock Street. And something that I think that should be addressed in the beautification committee would be First Street Beach is gorgeous, a lot of work. But there's one thing that's still missing on First Street Beach, and it's the hoop around there across from the dog park. I don't know what Jeff Milkula can do there, but I'm not saying make it look like a golf course or some green grass or clean it up a little bit. I've heard excuses, well, the sand's blowing over there from the beach and there's nothing we can do, we can't grow grass. Well, that's not true. Go down to Ludington, they don't have a cement wall there across from their parking lot. Beautiful green grass, picnic area, everything. I know we got a lot of parks here, and I know it's a job to maintain them. And another question would be, I don't know what we have in regards to underground sprinkler systems. As we come down to the beach, I thought at one time there was an underground sprinkler system by the launch ramps or something where they could water it, or that's been dug up or whatever. I don't know. But I'm just saying, when you come over the top of that hill on First Street, we got a beautiful harbor. That harbor is better than Ludington's and most harbors I've ever seen. And the first thing you see is dead grass down at the launch ramps, which, you know, we had a drought. I understand that. And I understand it's gonna take city workers to cut the grass. You fertilize it, you water it, and then you gotta cut it. But, you know, such a short season that we have, and the maintenance of that area, the First Street, just needs a final touch. You know, the hotel is there. They got the best beach from USA Today. And I think the final touch is to do something feasible, and some grants maybe through the Minger Foundation or the Manistee Community Foundation that distributes those grants for the resources to look into for the city council to do. But I think it really wouldn't cost that much money, and it looks like a final touch that needs to be done down at that beach. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Katie Beal, and I live here in Manistee. And you mentioned services, but I'm going to switch it around and say the service that you provide. Today, I have with me Gaetano Bellizzi. He is from San Basile, Italy, and he is my exchange student. And I was wondering if I could ask a request of you, and if you could provide one more service, and allow him to come up and take a picture with the council. He is here today to experience a little bit of city government. He's taking U.S. government in his high school, and I wanted him to have this experience tonight. So if you'd be willing to do that.
We can do that after.
That would be wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
I also want to put my support behind if there's an opportunity for a curbside recycling. That is, I've lived in many places. I have never lived in a place where we did not have curbside, and I was incredibly disappointed when that program went away. I didn't feel that I was here long enough to be able to speak up on that, but now that I've been here for a couple of years, that is something that as a citizen of Manistee is incredibly important to me as well. So I would like to throw my support behind the woman who spoke earlier.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Timely presentation, Dave. I'm on the Park Commission, so. Yeah, I'm John Veach, 35-year affordable housing landlord in Manistee. I'm now on the Parks Commission, and it's taken me a long time to figure out what's going on and how to get involved in the planning. And it's especially critical now because we have so many studies that have been completed at great expense of the community. And I think it's an opportune time for the Parks Commission to evaluate these studies because they all impact our parks. And what I hear is people cherry picking various ideas. It could be administration, it could be people on the council, without any specific coherent recommendation for today and into the future. As a Parks Commissioner, I was requested to submit 4 different priority items for inclusion in the budget submission for capital improvements, which it's nice to have that input, but if you look at the county planning of 2018, I believe it was, that applies to everybody in the county, the city as well, the Parks Commission is tasked with the idea of developing a plan and then also submitting actually grant applications and a number of other things that we have not been doing. And I think that, first of all, you need to, at all times, just remember that Parks Commission has absolutely no authority to do anything. So you can completely ignore us. Now, what's happened in the past was that we had some maintenance problems with some parks, primarily the river walks. And we had, when I first came on board, we had volunteers doing a lot of hands-on project, and I was just, what's this? This is like Kiwanis and JC's when I was there. But I did it, and we went, and I pressed people for months to give me their number of hours that they put in on these projects and the amount of money that was collected. And overall, it was about $250,000 of volunteer time and money that was spent maintaining the parks. unfortunately, in the process, I think some people felt disrespected, both in the Parks Commission and administration and city council. And when that happens, people aren't working together. Jeff and I had some issues, but I think we've worked things out. We trust one another now. And I've heard nothing but positive at our meetings, really. And we've been especially pleased that the city council approved an additional maintenance person for the parks, and it has showed, and we've mentioned it practically every single meeting. So I'd like to say thank you very much, and I hope that we can all put the past behind us and work together as a team, because I can tell from the meeting that we had tonight and the way you expressed yourselves, we're all on the same page. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else? Mr. Gamble?
Nothing at this time, thank you.
Ms. Roscoe?
Would it be possible to have an update on the Renaissance parcels sales?
Yes, we did get another request for an extension, or I don't have a reason why, but the sale has not closed yet.
I guess from a business perspective, shouldn't there be a new purchase agreement? I mean, basically, the deal should have been done December 30th, and that failed to happen, so the contract, it didn't happen like it should have. I mean, so I guess I'm a little surprised, because this could go on forever, and in the meantime, those parcels aren't for sale, basically. And I guess is that a good idea for us to be doing it this way? And, I mean, he can have his earnest money back, because it's not his fault that he can't obtain financing, and just start over. I mean, there's, I think, a lot of legitimate ways to go with this, but just extending it in forever just doesn't seem appropriate to me.
So the first extension, I think they changed lenders. The second extension, we were requesting additional information, so that's where it's at. But yeah, council did approve that purchase agreement. I think trying to be reasonable about, allowing them if they do intend to purchase it.
And I think we are.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I think you're right. When it becomes unreasonable amount of time, then we don't extend it anymore. I agree.
And then I was curious, I know the fire department negotiations are starting soon. Does someone from the city council personnel committee attend those negotiations?
No, not typically. So typically, we would kind of have a discussion with council about the negotiations. But yeah, that's typically handled by the city's negotiation team, which is myself, Ed Bradford, and the respective department head. Yeah.
And then I just wanted to mention that, and you kind of alluded to that earlier, a few of us attended the Northern Michigan Policy Conference in Traverse City on Friday, and there were several panels, a lot of good speakers. Everybody was positive about, Northern Michigan future, all except for one gentleman. But there were a lot of words of collaboration, working together. So it was an interesting meeting, and got a lot of good information. And, housing was an issue they spoke of again and again. That's it.
Mr. Grabowski?
Yeah, Bill, two issues. One, I got a call tonight from a gentleman about, we were supposed to have a meeting last month on housing, short-term rentals, and we haven't got a date on that. Is that coming up soon or again, or?
Yeah, so we're working with that Granicus software. I think working with Community Development Director Teresa Waldo. We're getting some reports, so I'll be sending those out to council, but yeah, that's still something we're working on.
Okay.
And also the Planning Commission's working on as well, and our city attorney.
Okay, well, I took a ride down over on North Water Street. I see it's not plowed. It's plowed up to a point, past the driveway. And I went around, Ms. Verjiga and I went around to the other end, and I see the gentleman has to drive around to get out of his, the road where he's at. Are we doing anything with this? Because I know, I talked to the lady, and she's here tonight. Are we having a meeting on this, or you told us at the last meeting we were having a meeting. When are we gonna set this up so we can get this done with? This is a couple years in the making.
So we did do some title work. I did ask the attorney to review it. It's something that information needs to be given to council for discussion. And I think that's the next step.
Okay, is there any date up the line here so we can?
Yeah, I believe I said it would be it's the 18th.
Okay, good.
Ms. Keck.
Hopefully you got that back there.
I'm good, thank you.
Ms. Raddatz.
Oh, I just want to mention, thank you for the extension to have some new learning as the newly elected officials training is Saturday from 8 until noon through the Michigan Municipal League. So I'm looking forward to getting trained as a new elected official. Mr. Smith.
The North Water Street, we've not typically plowed that in years past, correct?
I'll defer to Mr. McCullough.
Figure out why, I mean, I understand it being an issue, but why is it being brought up
We have
now?
plowed that in the past.
Okay.
And what happened is, don't quote me on a time frame, but several years ago, a representative from the adjacent property, what I assumed was the adjacent property, but basically the marina there.
Okay.
Asked to meet me on site and asked why we were essentially trespassing on his land. And he said he and his partners were very concerned that when we were plowing, there's not much asphalt there, and that we were tearing up the property. So we went back, looked at the maps. The maps didn't show any right-of-way. So I took this to the previous city attorney, and the city attorney did some legwork on it and then came back with an opinion that said that they didn't find any easements, they didn't find any city rights to be on that land, and that and at that point we stopped plowing it because we were waiting for either somebody to show us that we had some public rights and responsibilities to do that, but at that time we stopped plowing it.
Okay.
And then, just to be clear, last year we had a very new employee and we gave them a list of the dead ends, what we call dead ends that we plow with a pickup truck, and we forgot to take that off. And as soon as he wasn't even in there for 10 minutes, and I got it, the gentleman stormed in my office and was very upset that we were doing it again. And so we have stayed away from that.
Okay.
And I know the city managers had the current city attorney doing some fresher looks at that. It is on the Act 51 map, which means that at some point the city had submitted that as a certified street to the state. But at this point, and I'm not an attorney, but I've been informed that there's no legal right for us to be there. So that's where it's at.
Okay, no, that's yeah, you answered more than I had anticipated, so thank you.
But there should be more coming out on the 18th when it
Right,
gets
absolutely, sir, absolutely.
Because I disagree.
And it gets back to probably like Old Manistee, there wasn't always surveys, and one of the houses is a landlocked situation without that road. So it's not like everything when Manistee was first plotted was perfect. I mean, it's
Nope, we
probably
need to
still
figure it
not
out.
perfect. We'll figure it out. We have to.
Anything else, Wes?
I just want to tell the people, Wes, I thought it said Wes.
Real quick, Jeff, the overlays, I love that idea. Add a little bit to those spots that really need the help, because roads are an issue. I mean, that's what everybody's on. Second, I'm sure she will not toot her own horn. While she was this weekend, the mayor went to Chicago to the Travel and Adventure Show on her own dime, by the way, absolutely on her own dime, and did a fantastic job representing the city in Manistee County with Miss Protashevitz and Miss Lukashevitz. Say that 3 times fast. Do I get points for that? Uh-huh. All right. But no, it just was great. I've had two different people call me that, from my contacts outside the state that, hey, your mayor was in town. They know that I'm, on the council, and hey, your mayor was in town, did a great job, had a great presentation. So really thank you for that. And, that's what we should be doing. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Wes. Ms. Lasky.
I was just going to say, I like seeing the people speak up. It's very hard to come to these meetings and and speak up, but the heartbeat of the community is right in the group that is speaking up. So please come back, and thank you for your comments.
I don't have really anything. I did meet a couple of developers that were, I have their cards, that are interested in senior housing and actually build childcare facilities. So that was pretty cool. And I just want to say congratulations to Jeff McCullough for 12 years at the DPW this month. And I will take a motion to.
Make that motion.
Buddy.